What's up, guys? Welcome to the Chess Giant. This is Solomon Ruddell, and today I'm going to be going over a game I had against Boston Mike on the Coffee Chess YouTube channel. Now, most of you have probably heard of Coffee Chess, and if you haven't, basically what Coffee Chess is a YouTube channel, and on that channel, it's a group of 10 to 12 guys that come together, play some blitz chess, sometimes even talk some trash, and overall just have a good time. So when I got invited by one of my friends to come be part of the crew, I was super pumped to go play some chess. And early on in the day, I got paired up against Boston Mike, one of the best trash talkers on the channel and one of the OGs. He's from Boston, loud, short. I mean, pretty much everybody's short compared to me. I'm 7'1", but he definitely has some Joe Rogan vibes, if you know what I mean. But yeah, just an overall good guy, and it was fun to play against him. Here I was playing with black, and actually in this game I pretended to not know what on earth I was doing. I told him I was just starting with chess. I was pretending to not really know the game all that well. So basically what I was doing was hustling him and trying to get under his skin and surprise him by how I play. So it was fun just for once to pretend like I didn't really know chess that well. And here in this blitz game, he started off with the move e4. Now, against d4, I went with the Sicilian defense with c5. And guys, I just want to warn you, this is not my prettiest game. Okay, guys, this is not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination from either side. But honestly, I did learn a lot, and I hope by going over this game, you'll learn a lot too. Many times people say that you have to go over grandmaster games in order to get better at chess, and this is true. Grandmaster games should be the majority of your chess study, at least when it comes to analyzing games, but sometimes it's good to study beginner games, or intermediate games, or even expert games, but not quite grandmaster games. That way you can see the difference. Okay, what is different from what a grandmaster does compared to what an expert does? I think you guys will learn a lot from this video, and maybe have a couple laughs at how bad my moves were. Okay. Here, Boston Mike went with the move f4, the McDonald attack, and I answered with the move e6. Now, after the move knight f3, I pushed in the center of the board with d5, and following e5, played knight c6. And here, after bishop e2, I played the move f5. Now, I was playing this move because I was concerned about a Grand Prix attack-like system with a potential f5 move. So basically, I just wanted to lock up the king side of the board. Problem is, once I do play f5, black's position is kind of cramped, and there's not really a ton of counterplay. On top of this, the e6 pawn is weak and can easily be attacked later on in the game when the pieces are traded off the board. Instead of playing f5, I think what I should have done was played knight h6. And yes, guys, most of the time, the knight on the rim is dim, and that's why I didn't play knight h6. I was tempted to, but I was also like, okay, well, the knight on the rim is dim. I should probably eventually put it on a square like e7 instead. Well, this knight on h6 is actually very strong, as it has the potential f5 and g4 squares. This f5 square is very weak because white pushed the e5 pawn. So in this particular case, this knight h6 move is a good strategy. Following a move like castles, I could then play bishop e7, followed by, say, castling kingside, and after c3, advance on the queen side of the board, and following d4, play queen b6. And now let's say white plays a move like bishop e3. Well, against bishop e3, I could now play either knight f5 or knight g4. Notice how this knight can't really be attacked, because if white ever opens with f5, well, we just take the pawn, and after a move like bishop e3 is ever played, we can play knight g4, and I would definitely give the edge to black here, as black is attacking the bishop on e3, as well as putting a ton of pressure on this d4 pawn. So guys, going back to this position, I played f5, which again, I think is a mistake. And here, Boston Mike played castling kingside, in which I played the move bishop e7, and after c3, then I decided to play knight h6. Notice how this knight can't really go to e7, and it can't really go to f6 because the pawn on e5 would simply take it. So after playing f5, I had to play knight h6, but now this knight on h6 is cramped, and it's actually a very bad piece. Pretty much for the rest of this game, this knight is going to barely move, and we can't move the knight to f5 now. Here, Boston Mike played d4, a strong move, advancing in the center of the board, and here I played castling kingside, and after h3, I took on d4 and played the move queen b6. I think queen b6 is a pretty decent option here, advancing the queen, making the queen more active, and also putting pressure on that d4 pawn. Here Boston Mike played b3, looking to fianchetto the bishop on c1, and here I responded with the simple bishop d7 followed by rook a c8, putting my rook on this open file where it can eventually put some pressure on that knight on c3. Here Boston Mike played bishop b2, and here in this position I realized that Boston Mike was probably going to play an eventual knight a4, and I didn't really want to bring my queen to c7 or d8. So here I played a6, and following knight a4, I played queen a7. The queen here, even though it's tucked in the corner of the board, is still very active, attacking that d4 pawn. And the next move, I played b5, kicking the knight back to c3. Now here I played rook c7, and after rook c1, queen b6, shuffling the queen back to a slightly better square. And after rook c2, I played rook fc8. And here we see after queen d2, bishop b4, and rook fc1, we have a very intense battle for the c1 file. As you guys probably know, in chess, if there is an open file, or in other words, if there is a file without a pawn on that file, it becomes open, and we want to put our rooks there. This file is much better for our rooks compared to, say, this file or this file. We want to put our rooks on squares where the most active. And here both sides realize this, and we're really just firing up as much power as we can so that our pieces can be active and have a tactical advantage for the rest of this game. Here I played knight a5, and honestly guys, I don't think knight a5 really was the best option. Knight a5 was okay, but if I had to do it again, I probably would have went with bishop a5, maybe even queen b7. But here I play knight a5, which again isn't a bad move, but at the same time it doesn't really do a whole ton. Here Boston Mike actually played a very nice maneuver. These are probably the best moves Boston Mike played in this game, with knight e1, and after rook c6, bishop d1, really protecting that rook on c2. And after I played queen c7, here he played knight d3. Nice little maneuver here. He saw that the knight on f3 wasn't really doing much, so he moved the knight to e1 to d3, where it's now putting pressure on that b4 bishop. Now, I do want to note that I think that playing rook c6 and queen c7 here with black was actually a pretty big mistake on my part. The problem with this is once the rook gets traded off, the queen is in the open fire. And it really doesn't matter how much firepower is behind the queen, because I'm not going to want to trade the queen for a rook. I'll show you guys what I mean more later on in this video. Here after knight d3, I saw that my bishop was attacked, and I think that the best move was bishop e7, holding on to the bishop. But here I took on c3, and following bishop takes c3, we now see that the queen and the bishop on c3 are attacking my knight on a5, and I had to play knight b7. And now Boston Mike continues with his beautiful maneuver of this knight by playing knight b4. Against knight b4, I was forced to play rook b6. And now, as you guys can see, this queen is very prone to being attacked. And it doesn't really matter that the rook is on c8, because after bishop b2, I can't take the rook on c2 because I would simply lose the queen. So here I had to play queen d8. And now Boston Mike took my rook on c8, and after bishop takes c8, played the move knight c6. I mean, again, guys, look at this beautiful maneuver. f3 to e1 to d3 to b4, to c6, and now I played the move queen e8. My queen was under attack, and now Boston Mike actually had a move that would have easily won the game. If you'd like, you can pause the video and try to figure out what you would do if you were white in this position. Assuming you guys have had the chance to pause the video, the best move, which Boston Mike missed, was knight e7 check. Beautiful move. Again, this will be the last time I show this, but this maneuver with the knight going to e1, to d3, to b4, to c6, to e7 is really beautiful. And with knight e7 check, now the knight is also attacking the bishop on c8 as well as the rook. So here I'd have to take the knight, and now white could play rook takes c8 check, followed by queen a5, and after a move like queen d7, rook a8, queen c7, and a4, white is clearly winning this game, and there's really no chance for counterplay here for black. This queen can't even come attack the white camp because this bishop pair protects c1, c3, c1, and c2. Here, this position is resignable for black. But guys, as I mentioned, Boston Mike missed this knight e7 idea, and here he saw that his knight was being attacked by both the rook and the queen on e8, so here he played knight b4. Now, I was very eager to get rid of this knight, so I played the move a5, and after knight d3, I played bishop d7. Now, I still think that white has a clearly better game here, but it's definitely not winning. And now Boston Mike played rook c2, followed by the move queen c1. Very nice maneuver here. And now I just wanted to trade off, so I played the move rook c6, and after knight c5, I took the knight on c5, and after rook takes c5, again, we traded off rooks. Now with this move, queen d8, I'm really doing two things. I'm protecting the pawn on a5, and I'm also potentially opening up this queen h4 idea, where this queen can be attacking the pawn on f4, and even threatening a potential queen e1 check, winning the bishop. Now, honestly, guys, I think the best move for white here is playing g3. If white plays g3 here, black really has no counterplay. There's really not much black can do. I mean, true. I mean, black could just play a move like king f7, but after this, white can play a move like a3. And after b takes a3 and bishop takes a3, now white has a very strong diagonal from a3 to f8. And again, I just think that white's position is clearly better. But after the move, queen d8, Boston Mike didn't play g3, stopping my counterplay, but instead played the immediate a3. And honestly, guys, after this a3 move, I think that the position is a slight advantage for black. And one of the options I could have played here was the move knight g4. Now, knight g4 is a pretty good move. I mean, it's very beautiful, and pretty much the idea here is that if bishop takes g4, I could take on g4. The only problem is after h takes g4, I could play queen h4 check, and here after king g1 and queen e1 check, followed by king h2, it's actually best for me to not take the bishop on d1. So here I would have been forced with a perpetual check. And really, guys, after Boston Mike played the move a3, I didn't want to settle for a draw. So instead of playing knight g4, I played the move queen h4. And really what this does is it's still a dead even position, but it gives white the opportunity to make a mistake. As you guys know, in chess, we want to keep the tension. Okay, we don't want to make things easy for our opponent if we have to. If we have two moves that are equal, but one of them makes it harder on our opponent, we want to go with that one. And here Boston Mike made a big mistake with the move bishop c1. Now, instead of bishop c1, I think there's pretty much a good amount of moves that would give white an even position. Playing queen takes a5, a takes b4, maybe even queen c7. But here Boston Mike played bishop c1, and I'm not really sure what Boston Mike was thinking. Maybe he was hoping that he could reroute the bishop to d2, or maybe he was hoping that this bishop could now be protected by the queen on c1. But after queen h4, it's not really the bishop on b2 that's threatened, it's the bishop on d1. So after bishop c1, I was able to play queen e1 check, and after king h2, I took the bishop on d1. And guys, you got to remember, this is a blitz game. So at this point in the game, I actually had less than a minute left. So yes, I do have a clearly winning position, but with 30, 40 seconds on the clock, I was moving very quickly and was trying my best not to make a big mistake. Here, Boston Mike took on b4. I took back on b4, and after bishop e3, I played the queen back to h5. Now here in this position, Boston Mike gobbled up the pawn on b4, and now I went with knight g4 check. Notice how this knight can't be taken because the pawn is pinned by the queen on h5. So following king g1, I was able to snatch the bishop off the board with knight takes e3, and now black is up 2 pieces. And following queen d6, I played the move queen e8. Now again, guys, I had 30 seconds. I was just trying to play it safe, and after the move queen e8, black is obviously clearly winning. But instead of queen e8, can you guys see a better move here? Is there a better option for black? And assuming you guys have had the chance to pause the video and really look at this position and see what you would do here, the best move, and it's not even close, is queen e2. Yes, guys, we could lose the bishop, but okay, queen takes d2 is checkmate, and there's really no way for white to stop this queen takes g2 checkmate idea. The only thing white could do is play a move like queen b8 check, and it seems as if white has something here. But after king f7, the best move white could even play is queen f8 or queen g8 check, prolonging loss by 1 move, and black's going to win this game. So instead of playing queen e8, I should have played queen e2, but even after queen e8, I think that black is still obviously winning this game. And following b4, I played queen c8, and after king h2, I played knight c4. Now again, I had a second opportunity to play the idea of queen c2 check. It seems as if white has something here, but white just doesn't. And after queen c2, I would be threatening checkmate in 1. But needless to say, with the low time that I had, I played knight c4, and after queen e7, I played queen e8. In chess, guys, if you're ahead material, you want to trade down. And if you're down material, you don't want to trade down. So here, since I'm ahead of material, I'm up 2 pieces, I want to trade queens. But Boston Mike, since he's down a material, doesn't want to do this, and he plays the move queen c5, and now I played bishop b5. Here in this position, every single piece on the board for black is protected by at least one other piece. And after bishop b5, here Boston Mike really just doesn't have much he can do. He played queen a7, and actually after playing queen a7, Boston Mike ran out of time, and I won this game on time, but obviously black is clearly winning this game. So guys, thanks for tuning in to this video. I'm aware that probably most of you watching this are actually coming from the Coffee Chess channel, and I do really appreciate your guys' support, and I really do appreciate Coffee Chess giving me the opportunity to play with them. It's actually been a while since I've been able to play with guys in person, just because, you know, I'm in college and on a basketball team and stuff, so it's just kind of hard, you know, out of school to find other good chess players. So it's definitely been a lot of fun, and I do thank you guys for tuning into this game. This was definitely not a masterpiece from neither Boston Mike or myself. I definitely did not play well by any stretch of the imagination, but I did learn a lot. I think, honestly, one of my key lessons, at least going forward, is going back to the position where I played the move f5. Oftentimes against the McDonald attack or against any kind of Grand Prix, pretty much any different kind of setup except for the main line, except the Sicilian, I think it's pretty easy for black to want to play a move like f5 and just pretty much lock up and just kind of deny any future chance of a king side attack from white. But here with the move knight h6, I really don't have to be worried about a king side attack. This knight really does have a strong hold on f5 and g4, and I'm going to continue to be able to play b5, queen b6, put some pressure on that d4 pawn if white even plays d4. And another idea is also playing d4 from black, advancing in the center of the board for myself, trying to take some space up, supporting the pawn with knight f5, and I think that black actually has a better game here. So again, guys, thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of this video, and I'm wishing y'all a great day. Peace. Thanks for watching today's video. If you'd like to watch another one, you can click or tap up here. And I've got a lot more high quality chess content on the way. So if you'd like to subscribe, you can click or tap down here. I really appreciate your support.